Thanks for joining me for this final part 9 of the 802 cable hat knit along video series. Just wanted to wrap up what we've done and also talk about customizing the hat or resizing it. So you have completed knitting your 802 cable hat, and I would dare say you have completed knitting your first 802 cable hat. Because I bet you're going to have other folks asking you for it, and already before this knit along even started, the comments on it were full of people looking for someone else to knit it for them as they didn't know how to knit and really wanted the hat. So you're probably going to get some requests for it. Or you may have found when you finish knitting it that perhaps it didn't fit you the way that you expected to, and perhaps you'll find another recipient, because all hats fit someone, and knit another one for yourself. So I want to talk about some different ways to size it. One we mentioned in the beginning, which is simply to use different size yarn and needles. This was worked in Plymouth Encore for an adult medium hat. It was knit at 5 stitches per inch. To make the hat larger, you want to find a yarn and needle combination with fewer stitches per inch. This demonstration hat was knit in your basic old-fashioned red heart acrylic yarn that knits up on size 6 needles at about 4.5 stitches per inch, and that when multiplied around the circumference of a hat yields a hat that's a good 1.5 inches larger. It's an adult large hat. You could also just find a yarn and needles that give you slightly more than 5 stitches per inch, so 5.5 to 6 stitches per inch, and you'd wind up with an adult small or a youth large hat. That said, everyone's head is also a little bit different, and one design flaw with, or one design problem with a hat like this is that because of these numbers, there's not a lot you can do to shorten the pattern. If you really wanted to shorten it, you could, you could either shorten the ribbing, or in lieu of some of the ribbing, you could start the numeral 2 down here and have it go up from the cable, which would look pretty cool. You could change the shape of the hat. Now, these hats with a rounder top, very popular in Vermont, kind of a snowboarding hat, skateboarding hat, that have a round top rather than a point. If you want a pointy Santa type hat, elf type hat, and you want it to be pointy at the top, simply slow down in your decreases. Do these decreases every 4th row, every 10th row. And have them keep going to create a long point on the top of the hat. Other ways to make the hat larger or smaller in circumference would be simply to adjust the number of these seed stitches or seed moss stitches in between. Just remember you need an uneven number so that you get that pattern of purl knit as you go across, but you could decrease those and have 1 fewer of those on each needle, and you'd have a considerably smaller hat. Otherwise, follow the pattern. To increase the circumference of the hat, you could add seed stitches, or you could double this vertical knit stitch and make it 2 stitches. For those of you who want to customize further, you could of course add a simple cable in the middle of this. You could turn these single knit stitches into double knit stitches and then do a twisted stitch to create a little rope up the sides. I left it plain because I think the 802 stands out a lot more with a very simple pattern in between. But by all means, don't let that stop you, and go ahead and add other cables as you will. So just to wrap up then, what you did, you started with your ribbing. You did this interesting number 2 in which we had to do some knit rows and then some purl rows in order to make that little horizontal bar pop out. You started in with some diagonal cabling and then did a double cable in. Then you did your double cable out and back in again on your numeral 0. And on number 8, you really upped your game on your cabling skills by cabling out, back in, crossing out, and then back in again. And if you can handle that, you can handle just about any type of rope cable that you may find in an Aran pattern. So I hope you've enjoyed our knit along. I hope we've met some new knitting friends, that you've picked up a few new skills. I do hope that you will follow the Burlington Irish Heritage Festival on Facebook. We have lots of different events, Irish cultural events through the year, and particularly around the St. Pat's season. And this will not be the last knit along we do. It was the first knit along that we did, but I think in the future we'll probably look at some color cables, and perhaps some other surprises as we go, probably once a year about this time of year. So do follow us on Facebook, and we hope to see you again. And thanks so much for being part of this knit along.